My wife cheated on me with her boss, and I just found out he's secretly forging documents to steal our $250, $0 inheritance. Now I'm suing him, but she's refusing to testify, and I think she's hiding more than I ever imagined. I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing this out, but here we are. The craziest thing just happened, and honestly, I still can't believe I didn't see it coming sooner. So, let me start from the beginning. My wife Emily and I have been married for about 8 years. We met in college, had our share of ups and downs, but overall I thought we were solid. She was always a little bitchy, sharp-tongued, quick to dismiss my opinions, but I figured that was just her personality. She's gorgeous, successful in her career, and she always knew how to keep me hooked with her charm and wit. Things started feeling a little off about 6 months ago. She became more distant, secretive about her phone, and I noticed she was spending a lot more time at work. She'd come home late, excuse herself for important meetings, and I caught her deleting messages on her phone more often than I liked. I brushed it off at first, convincing myself she was just busy or stressed. But then I started noticing small things. Her phone password changed, and she was more defensive whenever I asked about her day. It was subtle, but I had that gut feeling something wasn't right. Still, I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I love her, and I wanted to believe she was just working hard. But then came the night I found out everything was a lie. I was browsing through her emails, stupid I know, but I was desperate for some clarity, and I stumbled on a string of messages with her boss, Jason. They were flirty, provocative, talking about meetings that didn't exist, about spending time together, and even sneaking around after hours. My stomach sank. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. What made it worse was the timing. She'd been acting weird for months, and here I was, finding out she'd been sneaking behind my back with someone she worked with, someone I had trusted her around. And the worst part, she was lying about everything. She claimed she was working late, that Jason was just a colleague, and told me I was overreacting, that she loved me, that I was imagining things, but I knew better. I had proof now. This wasn't just an affair, it was an outright betrayal. The thought that she'd been lying for so long, hiding this from me, made my blood boil. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and honestly scared about what this meant for our future. I couldn't believe I'd been blind for so long, trusting her words when her actions told a different story. That night, I confronted her. I showed her the emails, the messages, everything. She tried to deny it at first, told me I was crazy, that I was misreading things, but I wasn't buying it. I'd caught her red-handed. Her face turned pale, and she finally broke down, saying she was just lonely, that Jason was just a way to feel alive again. She called me paranoid, accused me of spying on her, and told me I was overreacting. But I knew better. I saw the way she looked at him in those messages, how she described their meetings as secret escapes, and how she'd been planning to meet him for months behind my back. That's when I realized this was more than just an affair. It was a betrayal of everything we had. I couldn't just brush it off or pretend it was a one-time mistake. I felt a mix of rage and heartbreak. How could she do this to me, to us? And then I started wondering, what else was she hiding? Was this just about Jason, or was there more? Did she lie about the money, about our inheritance? I knew about her boss's shady side, how he's been forging documents trying to steal our $250, $0 inheritance, and I had a sinking suspicion she knew more than she let on. That's when I decided I couldn't just walk away and forget about this. I needed to know the full truth. I started digging into her finances, her emails, her phone logs. I was furious, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. The betrayal was personal, but the money, our inheritance, was the real prize for her. I found out Jason was involved in some shady financial dealings, forging documents to siphon off money from the inheritance. That's when I knew I had to act fast, not just for my marriage but to protect what's rightfully ours. I started planning my next move. I knew I couldn't trust her anymore, and I knew that confronting her again might only push her further away or make her cover her tracks better. I was angry, yes, but I also felt a strange calm. I had to be strategic. I hired a private investigator to dig into Jason's dealings, and I was gathering every piece of evidence I could find. This wasn't just about a cheating wife anymore. It was about exposing a conspiracy and making sure justice was served. I was ready to take down Jason, to fight for what's ours, and to finally get some answers. That's where I am now, sitting here writing this out, knowing that my life has changed forever. The betrayal cut deep, but I'm more determined than ever to see this through. Emily might have thought she could hide her lies forever, but I'm not letting her get away with it. Not this time. After I gathered enough evidence to prove Emily's affair with Jason, I knew I had to be careful. Confronting her directly again wouldn't work. She was already lying her ass off, and I could tell. She was starting to get paranoid. I needed a plan, a way to catch her in the act if she tried to cover her tracks further. But more than that, I needed to understand how deep her involvement was with Jason's shady dealings, especially about the forged documents and the theft of our inheritance. I started by hearing a private investigator. I didn't want to just accuse Emily blindly. If she was hiding more than just her affair, I needed proof. I gave the Pi access to her phone and email accounts, and I told him to follow her if she went anywhere suspicious. I also instructed him to dig into Jason's financial activities, bank accounts, and any connections to forged documents or illegal transactions. I wanted to see if I could catch them red-handed or find some concrete proof that Jason was actively trying to steal from us. Over the next few weeks, I watched Emily's behavior closely. She became even more defensive, more secretive. She started taking her phone everywhere, even into the bathroom. She'd get these weird calls late at night, and I could hear her whispering, probably to Jason or someone else. I was starting to feel like I was losing my mind, but I kept my cool. I knew I had to be patient. I also kept a close eye on her bank statements and her emails, trying to piece together her movements and conversations. Meanwhile, the Pi came through with some shocking intel. Turns out, Jason had been forging documents for months, fake signatures, altered bank statements, fake IDs, all to funnel money out of our inheritance. The Pi also managed to get some bank records that showed suspicious transfers going out of Jason's account, supposedly to shell companies he controlled. The worst part, Emily was directly involved in some of the meetings with Jason, giving him guidance, as she called it, on how to cover their tracks. She was actively helping him manipulate the paperwork, and I realized she wasn't just a victim, she was complicit. That was a punch to the gut. I thought I knew her, but now I saw another side, one that was cold, manipulative, and willing to lie and cheat her way through life. I started to question everything about our marriage, about her honesty, about whether she'd ever truly loved me or if I was just another fool she was using. I felt betrayed all over again, but this time with a new sense of clarity. She wasn't just cheating on me, she was part of a criminal scheme that could land her in serious legal trouble. One night I decided I had enough evidence. I sat her down, told her I knew everything, the affair, the forging, the money theft. Her face went white and she started to deny everything, but I cut her off. I told her I was done playing her game. I told her I was going to the authorities and exposing Jason's entire operation. Her reaction was classic. She called me paranoid, said I was overreacting, that I was ruining her career and her life. She cried, begged, even accused me of being obsessive, but I wasn't having it. I knew the truth now, and I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. The shock of discovering her betrayal hit hard, but I also felt a strange sense of relief. I was finally in control of the situation, and I wasn't going to let her or Jason get away with this. I made up my mind that I would fight for our inheritance and ensure Jason paid for what he was trying to steal. I contacted a lawyer, explained everything, and started preparing to sue Jason for fraud. I knew this wouldn't be easy. Jason was slippery, and Emily was still trying to deny everything. But I was determined to see it through. The emotional roller coaster was exhausting. I went from feeling devastated, betrayed, and furious to feeling a sense of purpose. I realized that I had been blinded by love, but now I saw clearly. Emily's lies, her sneaking around, her involvement in the scam, it all made me question every moment we shared. How much of her affection was real? Was I just another mark in her game? These questions haunted me, but I also knew I had to focus on the facts. I've come to understand that sometimes, the people you trust the most can turn out to be the ones who betray you the deepest. It's a painful lesson, but I refuse to let her or Jason ruin what's rightfully mine. I've got evidence, I've got a plan, and I'm not backing down. This isn't just about the money anymore. It's about justice, about making sure she can't keep lying and cheating her way through life. I don't know what's coming next, but I do know I won't be the fool she thinks I am. After gathering all the evidence and making up my mind to take legal action, I felt a strange mix of relief and anger. I knew I had to move carefully to avoid tipping Emily off that I was onto her. I started documenting everything: dates, conversations, bank transfers, and her secret meetings with Jason. I also kept a close watch on her movements, trying to catch her in the act if she tried to do anything else behind my back. I knew she was capable of lying her way out of anything, but I wanted to be prepared. One evening, I decided I needed to confront her again, but this time with a clear plan. I wanted her to slip up, to reveal her true colors. So, I set up a situation where she'd think she was in control, but I was actually recording everything. I told her I was tired of the lies, that I knew about her affair and her involvement with Jason's scheme. I told her I was going to take legal action, that I was going to expose everything. She looked stunned for a moment, then started to deny everything again, calling me paranoid and accusing me of invading her privacy. That was the moment I knew I had her. I pulled out the evidence I had collected, screenshots of her messages, bank records, and the proof of her involvement with Jason's forgery. Her face twisted in anger and desperation. She started to cry, begging me to stop, saying it was all a mistake and that she was sorry. I didn't buy any of it. I told her she had lied to me for months, that I knew she'd been helping Jason steal from us, and that I was done with her excuses. I told her I was going to the police and the courts, and I was going to make sure Jason paid for what he was trying to do. Her reaction was classic. She tried to manipulate me to make me feel guilty, to turn the tables and say I was the one ruining everything. She kept insisting she was just confused, that she loved me and never wanted to hurt me. But I saw through her. I knew she was just trying to buy time to spin her stories to keep her lies intact. I told her she could keep lying, but I had the evidence and I was going to use it. That night I contacted my lawyer. I explained everything: the affair, the forgery, the theft, and we started preparing a lawsuit against Jason. I also filed for divorce, not because I wanted to hurt her, but because I couldn't trust her anymore. I wanted to protect what was mine, and I wasn't going to let her keep playing these games. I also reached out to the authorities, giving them everything I had: proof of the forgery, bank transfers, the emails, and I waited for their response. While all this was happening, Emily tried to spin her story, claimed I was overreacting, and accused me of invading her privacy. She kept insisting she loved me, that she'd been under pressure at work, and that Jason was just a bad influence. But I knew better. I saw her for who she really was: a woman willing to lie, cheat, and manipulate to get what she wanted. I felt a strange mixture of anger and sadness. I loved her once, but now I saw her true face, and I knew I couldn't go back. In the days that followed, I stayed firm. I kept gathering evidence, working with my lawyer, and preparing for what was coming. I knew Jason was trying to cover his tracks, but I also knew I had enough to bring him down. The money he was stealing was significant, more than $500,000, maybe more, and I was determined to get every penny back plus damages for the betrayal. Looking back now, I realize how much I underestimated her. I always thought she was ambitious and a little bitchy, but I never thought she'd be capable of this level of deception. It's like I was living with someone I never really knew. And that hurts more than anything, feeling like the person you loved was just a facade, hiding a manipulative, conniving woman. But I also learned something important. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it's damn near impossible to repair. Now, I'm just waiting for the legal process to unfold. I'm nervous about what's next, but I also feel a strange sense of relief. I've done everything I can to protect myself and our inheritance. I'm ready to face whatever consequences come, whether it's her trying to lie her way out of this or Jason fighting back. But I'm not backing down. I've got the truth and I'll see this through to the end. I just hope this serves as a warning to anyone out there. Trust has to be earned, and sometimes it's better to be cautious than blind. The days after I made the decision to go all in on exposing Jason and confronting Emily felt like walking a tightrope. I was furious but composed, angry but strategic. I knew Jason was slippery. He had been forging documents for months, and I suspected he had more tricks up his sleeve. Emily's involvement made the whole thing even messier. I had to tread carefully. I couldn't let her or Jason catch wind of what I was doing until I was ready. I kept pushing forward, gathering more evidence, digging into bank records and monitoring her activities. Every night, I stayed up late reviewing the files, making sure I had everything. I wasn't just fighting for the inheritance anymore. I was fighting to prove that I wasn't the fool Emily had always made me out to be. I also wanted to make sure Jason paid for his crimes. That bastard had been forging documents, siphoning off our money, and probably laughing at how easy it was to manipulate the system. I was determined to see justice served. One day, I decided I needed to take a more aggressive step. I hired a private investigator to tail Jason's movements. I wanted to catch him red-handed trying to move more money or get rid of evidence. The pie came back with some shocking intel. Jason had been meeting with some offshore account managers, trying to transfer the stolen funds into hidden accounts. He was planning to disappear with our inheritance if I didn't act fast. That was the final straw. I knew I had to move quickly to freeze those accounts and get legal orders in place. Meanwhile, Emily's behavior was becoming even more erratic. She was trying to dismiss my concerns, calling me paranoid, accusing me of invading her privacy. She'd get defensive whenever I mentioned her meetings with Jason or the suspicious bank transfers, but I wasn't going to be fooled anymore. I had the evidence, and I was ready to use it. I set up a meeting with my lawyer and the bank's fraud department to discuss freezing any accounts linked to Jason. I also prepared to file a formal lawsuit for fraud and breach of trust. I realized this wasn't just about the affair anymore. It was about protecting what's mine and making Jason pay for his crimes. In the middle of all this, Emily's lies started to unravel even more. She'd maintain her innocent act, claiming she was just stressed at work and that Jason was just a business acquaintance. But her phone records told a different story. She was texting him constantly, even during work hours, and her location logs showed she'd been meeting him after hours at places she'd previously denied. I confronted her again, and this time she snapped. She accused me of spying on her, said I was crazy and that she was just trying to get through her life. But I knew better. I had her cornered. That confrontation was intense. I laid out all the evidence, everything I'd uncovered. Her face twisted in rage and frustration. She tried to deny everything, but I wasn't having it. I told her I was taking this to the authorities, that I was going to expose her and Jason, and that I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. Her crying and pleading didn't faze me. I was past feeling sorry for her. I was angry, yes, angry at how she'd lied, cheated, and helped Jason steal from us. But I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I was finally seeing her true face, and I knew I had to act fast before she destroyed everything. My lawyer started drafting the legal documents. We filed for a temporary injunction to freeze Jason's assets and demanded full restitution. I also filed for divorce, not because I wanted to hurt her, though part of me did, but because I knew trust was broken beyond repair. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine when I knew she'd been lying to me for months, maybe longer. The betrayal cut deep, but I refused to let her or Jason get away with it. Throughout this process, I couldn't help but feel a strange mixture of heartbreak and resolve. I loved her once, but now I saw her for who she truly was, a manipulative, dishonest woman who was willing to destroy our lives for her own gain. It's a brutal lesson, but one I had to learn. Trust isn't given lightly anymore, and I'll never let myself be blind to the truth again. I don't know what the future holds from here, but I do know I've done everything I can to protect myself. I've got solid evidence, a plan in motion, and the law on my side. Jason's criminal activities won't stay hidden forever. I'm just waiting now for the court date, for the judge to see the truth, and for Jason to pay for what he's done. That's all I want, justice. And if Emily thinks she can lie her way out of this, she's got another thing coming. I'm done playing her game. It's time to settle the score. The court date finally came, and I was a nervous wreck but also strangely relieved. I knew I had done everything possible to prepare, collected the evidence, hired the right lawyers, and made sure the financial side was airtight. Still, seeing Jason in the courtroom, knowing what he'd done to us, made my stomach turn. The whole situation felt surreal, like I was living through a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Emily was there too, sitting quietly, her face pale, trying to act innocent but failing miserably. I could see the guilt in her eyes, and I knew she was realizing that her lies weren't going to hold up this time. The judge listened carefully to both sides. My lawyer laid out the case, the forged documents, the siphoning of our inheritance, the meetings with Jason trying to cover his tracks. I testified about how I'd uncovered everything, how she'd helped Jason manipulate our finances, and how her affair with him was just part of a bigger scheme. Emily tried to deny everything, but I had the proof, screenshots, bank records, emails, and witness statements from the pie. When I finished, I saw her face tighten, and she looked like she was about to crack. Jason's lawyer tried to argue that their dealings were innocent, that Jason was just a businessman making some bad decisions. But the judge wasn't buying it. He asked for the bank statements, the forged documents, and the proof of transfers. When those were presented, Jason's face went pale. It was clear the jig was up. The judge ordered a freeze on Jason's assets, and he was immediately served with a cease and desist order to stop any further transfers. That moment felt like a huge win, but I knew it was only the beginning. The judge also set a hearing for damages, how much Jason owed us for the stolen inheritance plus punitive damages. I was relieved but also exhausted. I knew Jason and Emily wouldn't go down without a fight, but I was ready for that. I had the evidence, the law on my side, and a burning desire to make them pay. Meanwhile, Emily's face was a mixture of guilt, anger, and defeat. She tried to play the victim, claiming I was misinterpreting everything, that she loved me and never intended to hurt me. But I saw right through her. I knew she'd lied to my face for months, helped Jason steal from us, and then tried to manipulate her way out of it. I didn't say much. What was there left to say? I just looked at her and felt a strange sense of closure. The aftermath was intense. Jason was forced to relinquish control of the accounts, and the court ordered him to pay restitution, which would hopefully cover most of what he'd stolen. I also filed for divorce, and the proceedings started immediately. I didn't want to drag this out, I just wanted to put it behind me and move on. But in the back of my mind, I knew this wasn't over yet. Jason and Emily might try to fight to spin their stories, but I had the truth, and I was prepared for whatever came next. The emotional toll was heavy. I'd loved Emily once, but I'd also been betrayed in ways I never imagined. I felt humiliated, angry, and deeply hurt. But I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I realized I'd been blind to her true nature for too long. Her bitchy, manipulative side, the lies about her work, her sneaky meetings with Jason, all of it added up to a person I no longer recognized. I had to accept that sometimes people you trust can turn out to be your biggest enemies. So now I'm in the process of rebuilding. I've cut all ties with Emily, moved out of the house, and started focusing on myself. I've learned to be cautious, to trust my instincts, and never to ignore the red flags again. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I won't let them destroy what I worked so hard to build. Justice is on my side, and I intend to see it through. As for Emily and Jason, let's just say I hope they enjoy their new lives, because I'm done being the fool who trusted the wrong people. Now that everything has played out, the court case, the legal battles, the divorce, I find myself sitting here, reflecting on what's happened. Honestly, I never thought I'd come to this point. I used to believe in love, in loyalty, in the idea that marriage was forever. But betrayal has a way of stripping all that away, leaving you face to face with the harsh reality that some people are just not who you thought they were. Emily proved to be someone I couldn't trust, someone willing to lie, cheat, and manipulate her way through life. Jason, the scheming bastard, was just another piece of the puzzle, another criminal trying to steal what wasn't theirs. Looking back, I see how blind I was for so long. I ignored the warning signs, convinced myself she was stressed or busy, that her secretive behavior was just work-related. I thought her bitchy attitude was part of her personality, not a mask for something darker. The worst part, I let her get away with it for too long because I loved her. But love isn't enough when the person you love turns out to be your biggest enemy. The financial mess she helped Jason create was staggering. More than $500,000 stolen, our inheritance nearly wiped out, and the trust I had in her shattered. It's like my whole world was turned upside down. But I learned something valuable in all of this. Never ignore your instincts and always pay attention to the red flags. Trust is earned, not given blindly, and if something feels off, it probably is. I won't lie, I still feel the sting of betrayal. The pain of realizing the person you thought you knew was just pretending all along. But I also feel a sense of liberation. I'm free from the lies, free from her manipulations, and free from the chaos she brought into my life. I've started rebuilding, focusing on myself, my career, and my future. I've learned to be cautious, to guard my heart, and to never let anyone take advantage of me again. Most importantly, I've come to understand that sometimes justice isn't just about winning in court or recovering stolen money. It's about reclaiming your life, your dignity, and your peace of mind. I've faced the worst and come out the other side stronger. No matter how deep the betrayal, you can recover if you're willing to face the truth and fight for it. To anyone out there going through something similar, my advice is simple. Don't ignore the signs. Trust your gut. And if you find yourself in a situation where someone's lying, cheating, or stealing from you, don't be afraid to stand up and fight back. It's not easy, but it's necessary. Because in the end, the truth always comes out, and you deserve to live a life free of lies and betrayal. I'm finally on that path now, and I intend to stay on it.